Hello, I'm Team Kiza and welcome to Career Connect, the show where we are chatting about everything you need to know as a young person or a graduate wanting to blaze your trail in the corporate world. Today we're speaking about having career confidence. Hello to my awesome guests. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Great stuff. Please do introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about your career background.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sachawa. I went to Wits, and part of my career background is that I managed a restaurant as well, and now I'm in marketing.
Awesome.
Okay, hi, my name is Motsabi Nomvete. I work for an insurance company called PPS. We're based in Parktown. I work in the middle of our marketing department and our product development department, and our department is actually called technical marketing, so we do a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah. That's fantastic. So both your experience sounds very much like it requires your personality, it requires you to be confident, it requires you to show up and really give your best, you know. How do you go about building confidence for whichever role you're supposed to be doing?
The first thing is, I think you need to understand the role that you're in. Often we take it for granted that people would know what, for example, what a marketer does. But the nitty-gritty of the job, I think that's where the difference is. So the first thing is, when you get into a job, make sure that you really understand the nitty-gritty, because we're all good with the big stuff, but the job gets done on the nitty-gritty. And if and when you understand that, you'll find yourself actually building confidence. Because remember, if you start small, then you can go bigger and bigger and you can only get better and better.
So as a graduate, you know, where would a graduate really start building their confidence? So if they know what the job role is, but you know you have your first stage jitters and you're not too sure if you can do the job well. I mean, talking about managing a restaurant, I'm sure there's a lot of things that could possibly go wrong, you know, and especially when you're client-facing, customers, when they get mad, you know. So how do you maintain your ground and really find your footing in your position?
I think it's important to always try and remain calm in everything. Situations can escalate, everyone can get emotional, and then out of nowhere, things just go bad. So the first thing is always to remain calm in any situation and target every scenario one by one. I think also it's also going to allow you to be more confident in everything that you do by approaching it in that way.
I think also, if I can jump in there, for young people especially, it's important not to be shy to ask questions. We don't expect you to know everything day one in a job or even year one in a job. So find, when you get into a job, identify very quickly who are the people that you can latch onto, who can share information with you. Be bold, be brave about it, and just put yourself out there and ask. There's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge who actually are very willing to help. But the onus is on you as a young person, as a person who's coming in, to approach them and to ask them. So whether it be in the form of a formal mentorship, that you get someone to mentor you, or just a role model that you have in the company, or anybody who says, well, that might be a pot of knowledge, let me just go feed from there a little bit. And have the curiosity. I think we're so shy, or also we put so much pressure on ourselves that we need to know everything that we don't even ask the question. And remember the one important thing, the only stupid question is only ever the question that was never asked. So ask, and ask away. And so you will build your confidence.
I love that, you know, the fact that you mentioned there's no such a thing as a stupid question. And we hear that a lot of the times, you know, but when somebody's thinking about, I should know how to do this because I'm in marketing or I'm in this, you know, is there ever a bad reaction from management or your senior where if you ask a question and they might just look at you and go, maybe they're not so ready or they're not so qualified?
I would think if that were the case, then the problem is with that person. Definitely not with you, because we've all started somewhere. Even the experienced executive who's been around forever, they started somewhere. And anybody who is not humble enough to remember that, then the problem honestly lies with them. And you know what, if they're not going to answer you, there's somebody else equally competent, equally capable, who will be able to answer you. Unfortunately, you can't control how people are going to react to you, but that in itself should not stop you from saying, I'm still going to be hungry enough to look for the answers, and wherever I get it, I will get it.
Definitely. So be proactive in making sure that you avoid those silly mistakes and really putting yourself out there. I think also asking questions shows that you're interested and you're potentially capable at what you want to be doing.
The approach as well. I mean, if you can see that I'm running off to a meeting, I'm running late, everything is falling everywhere now, you think this is a brilliant time to ask me a question, that could be a problem, you know? So your approach also needs to be calculated, needs to be targeted, needs to be very specific. Because I think if you honestly approach somebody with the humility required, with your vulnerability out there, that you know what, I really don't know and I really am hungry, most people, if not all of them, would actually say, you know what, they'll take in your confidence and they'll say, it might not be a good time right now, but hey, I'm free on this date, whatever. And then it's your job then to honor that, or it's your job to remind them. Because remember, that person or that executive might come across 2 or 3 people who all want a piece of them. And they have, with all the willingness in the world, they might want to help everybody. But the onus is going to be on you to say, about that conversation we had in the passage, I now want to take it up further. Because if you're not going to do it, he's not going to remember, hey, I met somebody in the bathroom while I was washing my hands and he asked me a question, I better go answer him. You need to follow him. So I think striking that balance between looking for the knowledge, but then being the one who's actually being very proactive about it, that in itself will put you millions of steps ahead of everybody else. It will leave a mark on the next person and definitely build your confidence because you're now gaining information as well.
Definitely. So before we go any further, what is confidence? When you're looking at graduates coming in or when you're trying to pitch yourself for a role, what does confidence mean to you and what does confidence look like to you?
I'll go first. I think it means being comfortable in what you're speaking about or in being comfortable in what point you want to reach. I know that there'll be a lot of times where I tend to be very quiet sometimes, but once there's something that comes up that I know that I actually know this very well or that I can provide meaningful insight onto it, then I'll definitely go out and say it. I think that just to add on to your point from earlier, some people, they may not be as open to bringing something up or approaching someone to ask a question or something like that. Even when people aren't that confident in that sphere, they can present themselves or be confident in other ways. For example, if let's say you're not a very vocal person, you can bring your confidence across in how you present your work, maybe by paying attention to detail, by I don't know, there's so many different ways of doing it.
The way of looking at it, finding the details that bring out your confidence. Yeah, that's great. On your end, what does confidence look like, especially when you have young marketers and young graduates coming through the door all the time?
The important thing there is knowing yourself and knowing what your capabilities are. Without, and there's always probably the fine line is, without being over the top, wanting to take over. I know being young and ambitious is great, and that's a good attribute to have, but the how is most important. Because also remember, people who are already in corporate, who are already working, they have ways, and yes, ways are there to be challenged, processes and procedures are there to be challenged, changed, innovated, all of that, we get that. But how are you going to present that without almost saying, well, what you've been doing for the last 30 years is actually not so great. So it's finding that balance to say, well, look, that has worked and that was great, but now there's an opportunity, and identifying those little opportunities. Like I said, I think the problem is we want to go too big too soon, and that's where we probably lose it. And also you find by going too big too soon, you also overcommit yourself. And then the less then you achieve because you've overcommitted yourself, the less your confidence becomes. So start small, get the quick wins, the quick good wins. And with each of those little wins, you say, hey, okay, I can do this and I can take on the next, I can take on the next thing. You will notice it and so will the employer as well. So that for me is where confidence really starts. And like I say, also having the confidence to say, I really don't know. I'd love to take this opportunity, but because I think when somebody gives you a brief, you feel excited and you feel so much pressure though also to say, I suppose I need to know what I'm doing. Stop, slow down and say, I'm thankful for the opportunity, but what exactly do you mean by X, Y, and Z? What are my deliverables? By when? So let them talk you through it. So when you leave there, you are absolutely sure of what is expected of you. And then you dive into it and then you do it and you do it well. And I like what you said earlier on as well. People tend to think confident people are the loud ones in the office, the big mouths in the office. Not at all. We all have something special that we can bring to the table. Like you say, some people are brilliant at doing PowerPoint presentations of all. I mean, they add all sorts of crazy, weird and wonderful things on it. Then do that. Let that be your trademark. Then they know, if we want that PowerPoint that sticks out, we're going to go to Sechaba, for example. If you need a public speaker, we're going to go to you. Everybody has something different to offer. Find your one and make it work for you.
Fantastic. So before somebody actually presents themselves in a corporate space, I still need to land the job through the interview. So if I'm not that most confident person or the most boisterous person, how do I present my confidence in a meeting to actually let the person interviewing me know that I really have what it takes to get the work done?
First thing is you need to prepare for meetings. This thing of just arriving at a meeting and thinking you're going to listen to somebody else talk. So be hungry enough again, like I say, find out what's on the agenda. If there's anything on there that you're not sure of or whatever, then research it. I mean, young people today are spoiled for choice in terms of getting access to information, whether it be by asking somebody, by going onto the internet, whatever. So research it and say, well, let me see what other companies have done if they've been faced with a problem like this. Formulate your ideas, especially if you're the quiet type. Formulate it, write it down. And when the opportunity comes in, do present that. That's how you're going to, one, let people take notice of you. And there are some great leaders who are introverts. And that is not a sign of confidence in any way. Being an introvert is nowhere near being a sign of are you not confident. So some people say, oh, but I'm shy. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah. Go on with your shyness, but the work can still get done with you being this shy. I want to fall in a hole every time I see a lot of people out there. Yeah, but you can still be very effective. Exactly. So being prepared, that's one thing. Being on time. I think, we take being on time so for granted. Yeah. But just being on time to a place puts you in the zone. Yeah. Because then you have time to pull yourself towards yourself, to get yourself in the moment that you're in, and to just say, you know what, I'll take it as it comes. Mm-hmm. Now, if you get there and you're running late, already you're stressed about that, and your dress is sticking out, and it's just gonna, it can't end well. Stuff like that just cannot end well. So it really is about going back to the basics. We see sometimes in interviews, people come late, and it's like, it's not on. I mean, look, unless if the highway was closed, like really the whole national road was closed, there is absolutely no reason for arriving late for anything. Yeah. Those little things, they put you in a stuff, they put you like, oh my word, they make the employer think, probably not very serious. So you're already starting off on and all of these things are basic. Sure. Look decent, so find out about the company. If you're coming for an interview, what type of company is it?
I'm going to stop you right there because that sounds like really juicy details that I really want to unpack for anybody watching this who wants to be really confident in their career and what they're doing. So we're going to chat about that after the break. Stay tuned for more great details after the break as we continue speaking about career-fidence. Hello, I'm Sigim Kiza and welcome back to Career Connect, where we're speaking about having career confidence. Now, before the break, we got into the juicy stuff about really the little things that build up and really make an impact and they can break or make you, and what are those little things that you've seen working with graduates in the space at PPS?
Like I said, number one, non-negotiable, arrive on time. Number two, actually, if it's for an interview, know what job you've applied for. Of course. Because you find obviously young people are trying their luck everywhere and that's okay. But then you arrive at a job or at an interview and you're like, which role? So at least know the little detail. Look the part. And we do understand, obviously, coming probably from university, you might not necessarily own a suit, depending on your circumstances, and that's normal and that's fine. But looking clean does not need money. Looking well put together, looking groomed, looking like you actually made an effort to arrive there. One of my favorite stories, and I tell this all the time, is I once met a guy on a Gautrain bus. I was going to work and he was going for an interview. So he asked me where the place is, and we started chatting because we were going in the same direction. And you could see that this guy the suit was a few sizes bigger than him. The shoes were a little bit bigger than him. But he projected himself so well that I can still see him to this day. I have this picture of him in my mind. And I remember then I ran into him a few weeks later. They had taken him on a job. Because even though he might not have had the fitted suit, the this and the this, he looked the part. He understood that I'm going for an interview and I need to look the part. But more than that, he had the confidence in his abilities. And I'm sure that if I'd been the one interviewing him, that came through. Because in the brief conversation that I had with him, I remember thinking to myself, I actually even said to him, if they don't give you a job, they come to us and see what we can do for you. Because he projected himself in a way that made you want to hire him. So an excuse that, I don't have a suit or I can't afford this or whatever, that excuse is old and tired. It honestly does not count. But if you come, then you look like you've made an effort, you've arrived on time, you've researched the company. And like I said to him in the break, we're not saying no, absolutely everything there is to know about the company, but have a good general idea of what it is that the company does. Try to identify, even if you don't know too much, but try and say, if I were to be in there, what would be the difference that I bring in? Of course. And lastly, which I think is probably most crucial in an interview, know yourself. Because the plan of an interview is for you to tell us about yourself. So you need to know yourself better and you need to sell yourself to us so we can say, okay, this is what he's saying and he actually knows it. So sell yourself, don't be shy. If you've done something and you're good at it, tell it to us because how are we going to know? Yeah. We've got CVs that we go through, we've got a piece of paper, you might find quite a few look the same. An interview is your absolute chance to go in and shine. And ask yourself, what can I do differently going into an interview that will make me get their attention?
And what grabs your attention? If I was sitting,
well, I've had people come into interviews and they do presentations. Okay. So before we start, they give me a rundown, like a proper formal PowerPoint, or they have a portfolio of evidence of themselves. So the difference, don't just arrive with and say, well, they got my CV, I'm here, let's talk. Sure. So like I say, if there's something that you've identified, or if you know who their competitors are, speak about that and say, well, and ask them relevant questions so that they can see that you've actually done your homework, you understand the industry and the market that they're in, or even if it's topical stuff, bring that into your interview to show that you have a general knowledge of pretty much what's going on around you. Obviously, it must be specific.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously the no-nos, as in stay away from controversial conversations. Religion, politics, all of those things. Try steer clear away from those.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot, but don't be like somebody who's just been living under a rock all this time, because you do live in a global environment, in a global village, and things do happen around us. So bring that across, because people do like to say, is this person aware of the environment?
That's very true. Now, Shab, I want to know from you, how did this confidence open doors for you? I would imagine it's not, you don't just walk into managing a restaurant, and that does require a lot of know-how about certain things. How does having confidence enable you to manage such a role?
It enables you to be able to manage or to handle a lot of different situations. I know that sometimes one thing that I fall back on is that I love speaking to people, and I love learning about people, and I love experiencing different things. And I know that if I can go into a room and I'll have a conversation with someone, I'll try and find certain things that can give us common ground.
Of course.
So I'll try and identify certain interests, like, okay, for example, if you like sports and whatever, then I'll sort of start speaking about sports as well, just to see that we're sort of on the same page. But going into that kind of role of being a manager and being in marketing as well, that I associate that confidence with being able to speak to people, and because it's more of a leadership role, being able to lead them in certain directions to get towards a common goal.
So being sure about what your strengths are, essentially.
Yes, essentially. So if I know that I'm horrible at speaking to people, or if I don't know, if I'm not that great at speaking, sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought. If I'm not that great at speaking to people, then there are other ways that I can communicate that. So communication is a big thing.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yes. So it doesn't really matter how well you can speak, you can speak English or anything like that. But if you're able to communicate clearly in any environment, then I think that will boost your confidence, and also being prepared as well. And
preparation cannot be underestimated. So now I know everything's not fun and roses, and it's not all great and all easy. What are some of the key things graduates should prepare themselves for in a workspace that can sort of dampen their confidence? I would imagine you come in, you're prepared, you can speak well, you know what your grade points are, but there's just some things that happen that sort of get at you a little bit. What are those in your experience?
Well, remember, a work environment is made up of people, and people are all very different. And where there's people, there's bound to be conflict. So you might land your dream job, but only find that you probably have a boss from not on earth. Or there might just be somebody that you probably don't click with. That is the realities of life. Your issue then is, what role can I play in that? And I always say, especially as a new person coming in, do not listen to office speak. Do not listen to the conversations around the coffee machine. Because remember also, we all experience people very differently. Okay, so I might experience you this way, you might experience her very differently. Now, if you're going to be listening to that negative conversation about her and you haven't met her yet, that's not going to help you, and it's not going to help your career. So try sift the noise from the job that needs to be done. Give your chance an opportunity to say, let me learn about that person. Let me put myself forward in front of that person and see what they can bring to the table for me, without judgment, without all the sad stories or juicy stories you might hear around. Because I think it's very easy, because when you come in, you want to fit with the, you want to fit with the gang and, be part of the crew and be cool and everything.
High school all over again.
High school, that in a work environment is suicidal. That is career suicidal. It will help you with absolutely nothing, and eventually nobody will take you seriously. So that's the first thing. Stay away from all of that, because like I say, some people, and remember, as people, we also are very selfish. If I've had a tiff with her, I'm not going to tell you what the tiff was about or what I did, what was my role in that tiff. But I'm going to be quick to say she is such a bad person because of X, Y, and Z. And then you're going to, oh, well, yeah, she's, all of us now saying, yeah, she's such a bad person. You need to experience her for yourself and then make your own judgment call. So I think that's very important for young people, especially coming to stay out of the politics and see everything and every interaction with absolutely everybody in the organization as an opportunity for you to say, what are they doing? And be curious, what are they doing? What can they teach me? And that can be from the receptionist. I mean, receptionists have an awful lot of information. From them to the PA of the CEO, to a manager, to whomever. Rather say, what can those people, because they would know a whole lot of things that are not public knowledge or that you might not have easy access to. Build those relationships because those will come in very handy.
Can having confidence help build your career?
Oh, yes. I mean, look, we all want to work with people who are confident. And like I say, confidence is not the out there screaming out there, me. That is not confidence. That's extroversion, that's whatever it is. So you do need confidence. And like I say, confidence starts with you. If you don't believe in yourself and what you are able to do, why should I believe you? So in whatever way, whatever it is that you are good at, do it, keep doing it, and keep doing it. And put it out there and say to the world, this is what I do and I do it well. And you don't need to make a noise about that. For example, when people have performance appraisals, performance appraisal is not about the boss telling you what you did and then you sign a piece of form and you go home. You need to go in there prepared and say, what have I done this last quarter or this last 6 months? List it. Even the silly stuff that you probably take as part of my daily work. List them and say, what were my achievements? And ask yourself those questions before your performance appraisal. Because remember, your manager is also busy. They're chasing their own things and they could miss important things. So be prepared. And then it also forces him to say, let me take notice of it. He said, and he's, now I remember now. So that's another opportunity once you're in the job, when you have your performance appraisal, and it shouldn't be a tick box exercise. It shouldn't be, well, I need to do this because HR is sitting on my back to do it. When you go in there, it needs to be with a purpose. And then in there as well, remember, that's your opportunity to set goals, to say, well, I've now achieved X, it's great, I got my pat on the back, good. What are now my goals for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months? Write them down, because remember, if you write it down and you communicate it with your manager often, and it doesn't have to be, when you see him say, remember, I've committed to X, Y, and Z, I'm on track with this, I'm struggling with this, I need help with this, this. Keep the conversations going outside of the formal performance appraisal. Then come performance appraisal time, that will be a breeze because they can see what you've been doing. You've been actively living that document.
So preparation and being proactive. Very important stuff. So I think I can sit here and speak to you more about this, and get into how do you remain confident as a manager, how do you avoid feeling like you haven't really earned it because people like you and you have favor, and how do you deal with people sort of looking at you and going, oh, she's the favorite one in the office. So we could be here for so long, but thank you so much for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you.
Remember, we're coming to you live every weekend morning on BDTV. Stay tuned to Career Connect for great information on how to join your career. Thank you so much for watching.